Hello, my dear ones. Tonight we have another Psychology by the Fireplace evening, and I chose a topic about the midlife crisis. I won't even read the questions out loud. So many people write to me, both men and women. Most often men write about their own midlife crisis, and women write about their husbands and ask, "What should I do with my husband? Everything was fine." And then this started. Usually it happens in the age range of about 35 to 45. When a man enters this period, something begins to go wrong. Even if his job was good, he may want to quit, or he keeps working, but nothing satisfies him anymore, or he falls into depression. Of course, this can happen to women too, but it happens more often to men because they tighten and tighten like a stream, and then suddenly they get emotionally overwhelmed. So, what is happening to a person at this age? To understand it more subtly, watch our video about the persona. Because when you understand the term persona, especially in Jungian psychology and psychoanalysis, it becomes easier to grasp what this is about. In that video, I explained that the persona is the social mask, the social role a person develops from childhood in order to be accepted in society. And it is not something bad if it forms correctly. It is like clothing. You don't walk around naked, you dress your body. In the same way, you dress your inner world in something and go out to people so that you feel comfortable with them and they feel comfortable with you too. If in childhood your persona, your social role, was formed correctly, you were taught you are not alone, my dear son or daughter. There are other people. They also need to feel comfortable. They have their own desires and thoughts. You must respect them, and you must respect yourself. And you were taught that there are cultural rules and traditions that help you be accepted. So people are not frightened of you and want to communicate with you. So it feels comfortable. Then the child grows up in love and calmness. They understand that their persona is a social role. By wearing it, they show their inner world in a way that society can accept. But they do not identify themselves with the mask because they do not need to earn love. They do not need to earn not being rejected. With this kind of upbringing, everything will be fine. The persona will form beautifully. They learn to use it to express their inner world comfortably for themselves and for others without identifying with the role. They understand I am not my persona. It is only my social clothing, my energetic social clothing. And they understand that who they truly are is wholeness, the self, the soul. It includes so much consciousness, subconsciousness, and higher consciousness. And by the time they reach this age, having achieved something and learned how to live among people, they are more prepared to begin living their real, beautiful adult life from the inside out. But if the persona was formed through shame, what will people say? Aren't you ashamed? You are embarrassing us. Don't be different. You have no right. Then the child is trained to please. They are taught to be convenient, not truly comfortable for themselves and for others. And then, at some point, a person can begin to identify with this role and forget who they really are. Their desires, needs, even their calling may be pushed into what is called the shadow in the subconscious. And then, when the age comes to live as a whole person, having learned to build relationships with society, it is time to build a relationship with yourself, but the person has forgotten who they are. They identify with a social role and feel an emptiness. Where am I? Am I living my own life? Or As Jung said, am I living past myself? And that is when the midlife crisis begins, when a person's life is ready to move to another level, a fuller, richer, more beautiful level of wholeness, to recognize themselves more deeply, to find new meanings, adult meanings, and special achievements. But if the persona is stuck and formed incorrectly under unhealthy attitudes, shame, and different fears, then the midlife crisis arrives. Because it is time to find new meaning and start a new stage, yet the person simply doesn't remember themselves. They are used to playing a role. He didn't realize that it was only a role, so he simply pushed his real self somewhere deep inside. First, in childhood, he was pushed out by others, and then, later, he continued pushing himself out on his own. And of course, that is when this crisis begins. But if you go through this crisis in the right way, if you understand this, even if you did have a persona and it somehow stuck to your consciousness and you already identify yourself with it, you can still move through it. You can still pass this stage and grow. In many cultures, there was even a special initiation through ritual, especially for middle aged men when they were stepping into a more mature stage, the stage of an adult man. In fact, every person is meant to pass through this stage at this age. Men often experience it more painfully because suddenly they are flooded with emotions they don't understand. A woman may cry, share her feelings. She is not ashamed of emotions and she can move through it more easily. For a man, it's harder. He worked, provided for the family, built a career, and then suddenly it hits. Depression. I don't want to go to work. Who am I? What am I? Symptoms can intensify and things can get quite difficult. And if you don't work with it, if the person isn't supported, if he gets completely confused and closes down, and then even becomes inconvenient. First, the persona formed incorrectly because in childhood he was inconvenient and they made him convenient. And then even the beloved woman or family might say, you're so inconvenient in this depression. So, yes, there can be serious consequences. Chronic depression, a feeling that you are not living your own life, total emotional burnout, and even strong cynicism. A person escapes into cynicism to compensate for these confusing inner states. But if you pass through this with support of loved ones, on your own, with a specialist, or simply with understanding of what is happening, then you realize it is time to find yourself, perhaps to recover something you lost, to come to more adult goals, to understand who you truly are now, what you want, what your purpose is, whether you will go in the right way or not. And as you move through this midlife crisis, life opens in a completely new way. And then you can't even call it a crisis. In any case, this crisis is only an initiation into a new stage, new meanings, a fuller, mature life, a life from yourself, from your wholeness, from the fullness of your soul. We just need to understand it correctly. That's how I answered the question about the midlife crisis. If you still have questions, write them in the comments or email me. On our channel, we share different video series. Psychology by the Fireplace is released every Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific Time. And I love you. Bye bye, my dear ones. Until we meet again.